So I was at an Indian restaurant, and copper's really big in India. So I noticed they were serving water out of copper pitchers, and they also sold these copper water bottles, and the water tasted good, and it was like a cool experience. It looked beautiful. So I bought one of the bottles, and I started using it at work, and I found out that it was not getting dirty. It wasn't getting funky. Like there wasn't any, fungus and nasty bacteria in there. But so I'm fighting against these people that think copper toxicity, you're going to get copper toxicity from drinking water out of one of these, which the science clearly shows you will not. Because tap water is like gross. And even when you filter it, like the energy, you
Yeah.
get in, talk about energetics and stuff, like the water is basically dead. I want to sell these things. Like this is the time to do it.
Justice Marini has no friends.
Yeah. So I've been in sales and marketing for on and off like a couple decades. I'm 38. Actually just turned 38 a few days ago on the 16th. And basically, I've had a job, and recently I've transitioned into having my own business. I still have a job. I'm using that as a stepping stone to basically keep supporting my family because I have three kids and a wife that are my priority, and pay all the bills or most of the bills, and then that way I can basically parlay all the income I get from my business back into the business, and we can grow it and scale it quicker. So that was the plan, but it is tough doing both. I'm doing double duty as far as work goes a lot of the time. So just recently we've kind of started to hire some people. So that's taken some of my responsibility and my workload off. So that's been fantastic.
Did you feel one of the things that I'll notice with business owners when they're making that transition and like there's this level of like bringing people in where they're just like they're sensitive to it. And some of them are sensitive to it for different reasons. Like some people are sensitive because it's like if I bring someone in, they're going to see my mess and I don't want them to judge me based on the mess of my business because I've just been running it and working and family. So I like feel tentative. And then there's some people where it's like, you're going to mess it up. I have a way of doing things. If you come in and you try to do it this way, you're going to mess it up. And then there's like this last group that was like, I didn't even know I could ask for help. It wasn't even a thing in my mind. I was just so busy working. I just did it. Were you in any of those or
Yeah,
were you like somewhere else?
I was the second group for sure because I always wanted to start delegating. I knew from the beginning, I'm like, I'm gonna design this business so that I don't have to work it all the time. Like I want to work it so I understand all the ins and outs of everything first, but as soon as I can, I'm hiring people. And my wife is super organized. She helps me a lot. Her name's Danielle. She's a beautiful, amazing, wonderful woman. I'm super blessed to have her. And I've picked up a thing or two as far as organization. So the business is actually physically like, right now I'm in my warehouse. It's pretty organized. It's like actually right now it's not, relatively speaking, but I have my products all organized very well, and I have the systems in place. It's really a simple business, so it's easy to organize, but
Yeah.
so I wasn't worried about people judging my mess. I got really good at packing and shipping bottles. I mean, I was like, I'm moving. I was timing myself. I'm like, man, I am efficient at this. How can I do 100 of these in a few hours? Like I got a certain way I do the tape on the boxes. I got it all like dialed in, like
Dial.
system. And then the first person we brought on was my mother-in-law, and she's helping us. She worked at the post office for a while, so she's pretty
Oh, nice.
experienced with packing boxes and shipping labels and all that stuff. Um, so she wasn't in love with that job. So, you know, I was like, we're gonna hire somebody. You'd be a perfect candidate. She started with us, and she's like 72, so she's a little older and she's a little slower and more sensitive to, cold. I don't have heat out here, so I got a space heater now, but anyway, so the transition there was a little, I had to really kind of test my patience because obviously when I first started, I wasn't as good as I am now. Now I run through boxes, I do everything, on Shopify and answer all the emails and do it all, knock it out in a couple hours, where she's just doing fulfillment of the packages, and it takes her a little longer, and she's making some mistakes that I made in the beginning, and I'm just got to keep reminding myself that I was like that in the beginning too.
Yeah.
And even though I can do it better, it still frees me up to go and work on the business not in the business. So,
Yes.
I mean, I've studied business for a long time and I understand that that's what you want to do. If you want to grow your business as the owner, you want to be working on your business, not in your business, more so. So,
The piece in there where it's like bringing on team people into your stuff. You've got your mother-in-law coming in, and for you guys, there's so many entrepreneurs that are like their start is in sales and marketing. It's just like they can see it. They're just like, I've
right.
seen other things sell that are not like this. And I understand markets and I understand this stuff. So they spend all this time. So they're just like, there's a little bit of sometimes they can get stuck on like what to sell, right? But for you, it's like this is a very specific thing. It's not like, and this is how I found it. I was just scrolling and I'm like, what in the world? In the world of like Yetis and all this other stuff, there's this copper bottle. And so for you, I want to sell something. I finally found it. Or you're like, I found this thing. Oh my gosh, how do people not know about all of these amazing things about it? Or was it a mixture of both?
Oh yeah, it was definitely I wanted to have a business like this. I wanted to start an e-commerce business for a long time, but being in sales for a long time, I sold some products that I wasn't crazy about, and I kind of spiritually, like I just
Yeah.
morally, I wasn't really fond of that. Like looking back in hindsight, I'm like, I was never going to do good on that because I wasn't, in love with the product.
Yep.
I did cabinet refacing. I sold cabinet refacing. I'm like, after like being in there for a while, I kind of realized like, man, new cabinets are a better deal. But I'm selling it still, so that didn't work out. So I wanted to make sure that I was 100% behind the product, right?
Yeah.
But I also wanted to make sure it was something I could scale, that it was something that was easily shippable, that it was simple, that I understood it. I didn't want to sell like some sophisticated gadget that I didn't know how it worked. I wanted to be able to explain everything. So I kind of was on the lookout. But, being a father, it wasn't the right time to start the business, but I basically was at my day job at the Port of Virginia and we unload container ships and load container ships and load trains. It's basically logistics. And I was working long hours, I was working nights, I was working, weekends, and sometimes I would work a day and then work the next day. I just sleep in my car and
Jeez.
for a bit. And I had a water bottle and I realized it got funky after a day of use. I could just taste the difference that
Yeah.
it was not clean. And then I would not drink as much water. And then, so I had to go find a sink on the port and then, wash it out and get new water and then do all that stuff. And, it was just a whole cycle. And then I found, I love Indian food. So I was at an Indian restaurant and, copper's really big in India. So I noticed they were serving water out of copper pitchers and they also sold these copper water bottles and the water tasted good and it was like a cool experience. It looked beautiful. So I bought one of the bottles and I started using it at work and I found out that it was not getting dirty. It wasn't getting funky. Like there wasn't any, fungus and nasty bacteria
Yeah.
in there. So I fell in love with it. I used it for like 2 years and I started researching it. And I found out it's antimicrobial. It actually raises the pH of the water. If it's like neutral or slightly alkaline, it'll raise the pH up to 7.98
It's
from,
crazy.
yeah, it does a lot of cool stuff. And then on top of that, and I didn't even realize this is something I found out later, but bits of the way it works is an ionization process, and copper ions are dissolving into the water as it's stored for hours. So if you store it overnight, there's a significant amount of. I mean, copper's a trace mineral. We only need a little bit as a nutrient. There was a significant amount from a nutrition standpoint that dissolved into the water that you would actually be consuming if you did that every night. So, so then I started, okay, well, is copper good for you? Then there's all these different, uh, there's a couple different schools of thought. One is correct, and one is based on some false science done a half century ago. Basically, I found out copper is a essential nutrient. It's really good for you. It's involved in like all these enzymes, these enzymatic functions in the body, and I mean, it's really important. And a lot of people are actually deficient in it, and our medical establishments aren't really aware of that. They're just catching up. The newest science is aware of it, but people are slowly catching up to that. So I'm kind of like, this whole thing is a trend. It's going to be a trend. I want to sell these things. Like this is the time to do it. And I think people need this. And I looked at the markets and people were selling them mostly on Amazon and stuff like that, but they weren't marketing them to like a general audience. It was like, if you're a yogi or you're into Ayurvedic medicine, which is a ancient tradition of medicine in India, that goes back thousands of years, where they use copper bottles, call it tamajal, drinking from copper or water that's been stored in copper overnight is known as
Yeah.
tamajal in the Ayurvedic tradition. So if you weren't into this kind of circles, you weren't seeing this. And I'm like, everyone would love this because it's antimicrobial, first of all. And then look how beautiful it is. It just adds this kind of joy. So yeah, but I got excited about it. I told my wife I wanted to start the business, and she said it's not the right time because she was pregnant with our
Oh
third
yeah.
child. And we have other businesses. We run an Airbnb business. We got some real estate stuff that we've
Oh really?
done some real estate development, real estate investment. We didn't have the time or space to do it, but I'm like, it's now or never. Like I prayed about it. God was telling me that this was a thing that I was supposed to do. He was calling me to do it. And so I ended up telling her, look, you don't have to do anything. I'm going to take this on myself and I'll be able to handle all the other responsibilities. And it was a wild ride, but I'm glad I started it because we've been doing pretty good. It's we're getting great feedback. It's wonderful.
Yeah, and I was just doing some research today. And then there were like your reviews on your website were awesome. I was like, he's on the ball. And for you guys right now, like as you were sharing, I was going, hey, it seems like you and your wife are a great team. Like you guys team up on these businesses, her organization with your sales. It ends up working really, really well. Was there any part of you launching this business that you were scared not having her with you, or were you kind of like, she's gonna just see the mess and want to organize it, she'll want to be a part of it, and I'll let her in when it's time, or were you like, I think I got this one.
I did know that she was going to want to get involved with the business.
You knew.
I had a strong belief and I worked on that belief, on building that belief. And that's a discussion we should go into because that's, I see with successful people, the biggest thing between successful people and not successful people is their belief and whether they can do it, belief in the product, belief in themselves, belief in the business. My belief was so strong that I knew it was going to be successful and that I knew once that we had the baby and she kind of healed up a little bit and things settled down that she was going to help out. And so, yeah, I knew she was going to be on board and now she helps out. And um, yeah, we've been a great team since the beginning, man. We ran a hot dog cart company in San Diego.
Wait, hold on, what?
Yeah, we've done a lot of good. She's actually really good at sales and marketing too. She's the best connector of people I've ever seen in my life. You should probably
Really?
hit her one of these days because she's like a master networker. She loves people and she's just really good with people. And I've learned a lot from her. I have the creative side. Like
Yeah.
and she's creative. She's a musician. She's a violinist, classically trained. But like as far as like ideas with business, I'm really good at like
Yeah.
creating and like figuring out creative solutions and coming up with ideas and stuff in business, where she's really good at just managing relationships with people. Um, that's something I had to work at to like get better at. I wasn't naturally gifted at that in the beginning, but yeah, now I'm going to set her up as the wholesale lady. She's going to like, keep like contact with all the wholesale accounts and stuff. So we're going to get that going this year. And we're still running the e-commerce side.
For you guys, okay, so this is great. And it means junior is what the definition came out to. But what I'm wondering if there's another definition, because I was like, what does Vesla mean to them? Like, what is that? I was so curious because I was like, I don't know. Does that make sense? I'm like, it means something to them. It's a very intentional name. Where'd that name come from?
I actually originally wanted to be called vessel, like a vessel that you store something in. And then I also work at the port with ships, their vessels. I'm a surfer and I like just like water and stuff. So I was like, I wanted to be vessel. But then I looked at the names and there's 100 companies called Vessel, like spelled all different ways, like VESL, and so I went away from that and then I was looking at all these other names and I liked a few of them, but none of them really felt good. Um, so I spent a lot of time and I finally came back. I'm like, how can I change this vessel? I'm like, maybe if I make it like feminine or something. And then I was I speak a little bit of Spanish. I'm like, maybe like just kind of Vesla. That's,
That's
but it
great.
sounds like Tesla. And I'm like, okay, this sounds good. And so I told my wife and everyone, they're like, yeah, that's good. We should just
There
go.
you go. Okay, awesome. Because I was like, wait, man, I don't think he means to. Like, I don't know where I was looking all over for a definition. One of them was like junior. I was like, I don't feel like he means junior copper. Like, I don't think that would be what it is. But it being a vessel and you working on the port, yes, 100%. Like, it feels like. So I went to your social media and I was like, oh, this is a new like company. And I went to your Instagram and it was like, I think you guys launched a year ago, almost a year ago. You made a post. It was like 11 months ago. But then I was looking and I was like, okay, and what you've shared has like the about copper has made complete sense. Is there something about because I was going through your social media and you post reels like once a year, it feels like. And I was like, wait, what's going like I feel like this means more to you. There's something about your philosophy and your values that this aligns with, that this brand aligns with. Because I was looking and I was like, wait, this guy's like harvesting like turkey tail and reishi and like lion's mane. And then he travels. At some point, I read somewhere like you were traveling with your family. And so I was like, there's something about this that aligns with either his family or just his personal philosophy that is bigger than just a cup. And so I was wondering what that was. If my rambling just made sense, I was like, there's something here that I don't know as far as philosophy and belief around this that I was like, what is it?
That's a good question. There's a lot of meaning and belief philosophy behind it. From the business standpoint, I designed the business with the intentions of making something simple so that I could scale it quickly and I could hire people to run it and that I can travel with my family. I love traveling. I love being with my kids. Even if we're just at home, I just want to spend time with my family in nature. I want to be in nature. And yeah, that's this business model, having an e-commerce company that's simple is one that if you build it right, it will allow you to travel and you can bust out your MacBook Air and then catch up on some stuff and then put it away and go into the woods for a day and come back and work for an hour or two and then or maybe even hire enough people to where you can leave for a month or two and then barely work. Just make sure everything's running and check in on it from time to time. So that's the goal. That's been the goal since the beginning when I read 4 Hour Work Week,
Yeah,
like
is that
years
right?
ago. And I was like, gosh, that's brilliant. That's amazing. But then as my wife and I have been into health and wellness for a while. We were running a hot dog cart in San Diego. I was actually working for a marketing firm. I'm gonna have to tell this whole story now because this is
Yeah,
I'm gonna go off on a different tangent, but I'll bring it back
I
in.
love it.
I was working for a marketing firm. We were selling cabinet refacing and bath fitters and stuff, and I did good at it. And they wanted to promote me to management, and management basically looked like going to manage another branch somewhere else. I picked San Diego because I had lived there before. Right after high school, I moved out there for 3.5 years. So my wife and I packed up everything. Basically stopped doing her concierge company, which was starting to do good, and we went and we to take over this branch of this marketing firm. And we got to San Diego, and basically they promised all these things, and I got there, and the guy before me just basically ruined the reputation of the company, and it was treating people bad, and I had to try to fix it, and people didn't even want to talk to me. So we're spinning wheels, and then I was brought there to change it. They wouldn't let me change it. So long story short, we had to walk away from that. We were out in San Diego. We had moved our whole life out there. We just got married the year before, and we had to come up with something to make money on the fly. And I didn't really want to go back to working in restaurants or valet parking cars. My wife in a restaurant, she was a bartender and I was a waiter. And we are like, what kind of business can we create? And I had already read that book. I'm like, it's got to be simple. It's got to be something we could do really quickly. So we started a hot dog cart company. We were selling. It was called Wobbly Wieners, and we had this amazing logo done. Um, One of Danielle's good friends, Dad, does logos for some like huge people like in the area, and he did an epic logo for us, and we got a hot dog cart costume, and I was skateboarding up and down the streets and going into bars and ordering drinks at the hot dog cart, and then we would set up outside the bar so they'd get out of the bars at 2 and they'd come over and there'd be the only thing open is a burrito stand, and they got sick of burritos, so they started buying hot dogs with bacon and cream cheese and different condiments on them. I had a creme brulee torch. I would fire it up and I would melt all the cheese on it, and we'd waft all the onion and bacon smell into the air, and we crushed for like 2 or 3 hours. We had a line, down the block. And she would ring them up and get the money, and I would get the dogs and make the food. And so we did that, but it actually caused some health problems. My wife ended up having and she had had some issues before, but it got really bad. She's having bad ovarian cyst pains every
Yep.
month. She's like in a fetal position on the
Oh,
bed, just in agony for hours. And I couldn't do anything to help her. We went to the doctors, and they couldn't do anything except prescribe pain meds and say, maybe it'll fix it if you guys have a kid. And then it got so bad she had emergency surgery to remove the cyst. Um, and like her cholesterol was high. And it's because we were eating crappy hot dogs. They were low quality. They weren't grass-fed beef dogs. They were like, bought them at Costco, and
yeah.
bought the bacon at Costco. And uh, anyway, so we were like, what are we gonna do? We got to change our diet, because we started researching what can we do to cure this. And her dad came to us and said, hey, if you guys just eat really clean, it'll go away. And if you do like a vegan raw food fast, it'll cure it, I think. And so we tried it. We went we were selling hot dogs with bacon on them and cheese and cream cheese and all stuff. And then we went completely raw food vegan. So we're at home making smoothies and stuff, and then going out at night selling hot dogs. And it didn't, feel good. But and the transition there was intense. Like we got bad headaches and we were
Oh,
detoxing. But after a month, all of her stuff went away completely. And so we kept that lifestyle up, and we had to sell the hot dog cart. We ended up selling it for like 3 times what we had into it. So we made a good return on our investment. I think we had like 6 grand into it. We sold it for 15, and then we owner financed it to this other couple that was really sweet. They ran it for like, I don't know, 8 or 10 years or something. And so yeah, it ended up being a great thing. And then we moved back to Virginia Beach. The family was all back there, so we did a nice cross country trip. But so that led us on this health journey, and ever since then, we've been basically doing a ton of research into wellness, because we learned that we're in control of our health and wellness. We don't want to look to a doctor or anybody else. They're not the ones that are going to be making a big impact in our health and wellness. We are. So we got educated on it, and we've sold essential oils. My wife sells clean wine that's like third party tested. It's beyond organic, because wine's really laced with like chemicals, a ton of them. Like more grapes and coffee are like the two worst. So the company sells grape wine and coffee, and she does that. And yeah, we've sold supplements and stuff. And but it basically, this is a health product. That's another thing that I strongly believe in. I believe that copper, especially for like people who sweat a lot, we lose copper in our sweat. And
mm,
not a lot of people know that, because the science they did a century ago, I mean a half century ago, didn't take into consideration that we lose copper in our sweat. They only took into consideration the other ways, out the bottom, and the fecal and the urinary
yeah.
excretion. So they basically got the recommended daily amounts all wrong. They're calculating toxicity wrong. And Dr. James D. Nicolantonio talks about this. He wrote a book called The Mineral Fix and a bunch of other books, and he's an amazing source of knowledge on this. So, but then there's also, I think, the best book on this subject and minerals in general, and the dance that they do with cellular respiration and metabolic health, is a guy named Morley Robbins, and he wrote a book called Cure Your Fatigue. But cure is spelled like CU in the little box parentheses, because Cu is the periodic sign for copper,
Yeah.
periodic table. That book, I read that book, and it was probably the one of the best researched and cited books. He cites all the scientific literature. So I dove a little bit into some of the sites, and he just has such a good understanding of that stuff that it kind of changed my belief on a lot of things that I thought I'm basically fighting against this kind of old paradigm, this school of thought that has been disproven in the modern science, that is so worried about copper toxicity. And it's interesting because I really think that go, and this is hearsay, and I don't have proof of this. You might be able to find it, but I think like when the plastic companies, DuPont Plastic, started coming out with all the plumbing and replacing the copper pipes, I think they had some marketing stuff going on, and I think some of that science might have been influenced by that marketing campaign. And I've seen that happen in health and wellness industry, big pharma, big agriculture, and these massive corporations, they literally use science as marketing, and so we do have a lot of bad marketing, a lot of bad science out there, so you got to read both sides of it. But so I'm fighting against these people that think copper toxicity, you're going to get copper toxicity from drinking water out of one of these, which the science clearly shows you will not. And unless you put acidic liquids in it. If you put a bunch of lemon juice in it, let it sit for an hour, and then you drink it, yes, you will get too much copper. Our bodies are extremely good at excreting it. You'll excrete it, you get sick, you'll go, your stomach will be upset, it'll all go into the toilet, and then you'll be fine the next day. So it's not like even that risk, it doesn't have some of these long term. I mean, yeah, if you did that every single day, okay, you might have some long-term risks, but if you do it once, you're going to learn your lesson and you're not going to do it again. But we put the warning labels on the box on the website. Don't put anything citrus in here. Other than that, the little packets that have electrolytes in them, they have ascorbic acid, which is bad for you anyway. You should never eat ascorbic acid or citric acid, but especially ascorbic acid. They say it's vitamin C. It's not vitamin C. It's a synthetic derivative. It's a chemical, basically. It's a synthetic version of the shell of vitamin C. It comes from GMO corn. It's not vitamin C. It's completely different. And it's not good for the body, and it actually disrupts your copper and iron relationships and so on and so forth. So I have basically an axe to grind against some of this faulty science based off of corporate greed and stuff that happened a while ago, and a lot of health practitioners are telling people that they are deficient in iron. They're anemic when the science clearly shows basically that's just a sham. Iron is it's either the first or the second most abundant element on the whole planet. The core of the earth is made of iron. Iron is everywhere. Everything we eat has a little bit of iron in it. All the stuff we cook out of is iron, and we're getting, iron is in everything. What's happening, we're actually overloaded with iron. Most people, I mean, there's, exceptions to all the rules, but
Yeah.
most people are overloaded with iron, but because they don't have enough copper, copper actually transports a copper enzyme called ceruloplasm. It transports iron and helps it be absorbed and used by the body. So what's happening is all this iron stuck in our organs, stuck in our tissues, and that's why we're having these symptoms that they're labeling and diagnosing as anemic. And then they're telling people to supplement iron. So they're giving them more iron, and that just exacerbates the problem. It doesn't fix the problem. So really, you got to look at copper. You got to look at magnesium is another huge one. And magnesium is basically trying to pick up some of the slack of the copper deficiencies and all these other things, these toxic things. And so magnesium is kind of the short-term fix we should be taking every night, and copper is getting your copper regulated is kind of the long-term fix. So I think a lot of people will benefit from this, even if they don't understand it. I think they'll really benefit from a little bit extra copper in their diet.
I have so many questions.
I know. I
I,
went on.
dude, I love it. It's funny. I had these questions and you like are teeing them off, right? So like as you're sharing, I'm like, well, he answered that. Which is great, and I love it. There's a part I'm like trying to keep my life coach my life coach hat out of this, where I'm just like, I have all these other questions, but there's this other part where I'm like, okay, I'm at war in my mind right now with you, where, and not on what you're sharing, because what you're sharing, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's a believer, which is rare in brand owners. A lot of times they're just trying to sell it, it's a hack product. They're just trying to get it off the shelves. Give me a new tactic to sell the thing, but you're a believer.
Absolutely.
And so when I hear you share this, I go, okay, and what you guys want in your life, right? So it's like, hey, we want to be able to free to travel. We want this business to work for us, 4 hour work week. I mean, Tim Ferriss basically birthed this thing, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm in, and you're well suited for it. The guys that do the best, whether people like it or not, the men, the women that do the best with brands and launching them and growing them, have a history in sales and marketing. Like it's just
It's a big
nat.
part of it. You know that part already.
Yeah, yeah. Every time it's like there's a brand called Dream Recovery that we're in a community that I was in, and I was like, "What do you guys do?" To these brothers, they're like, "Oh yeah, we sold life insurance," and I was like, "Well, of course, it's like human psychology. You understand, like it's all that stuff." And so I'm hearing you, but I'm also looking at just like your overall, like from what I can see on social media, and I'm hearing you share, and I'm going, here's a big question. Why isn't he saying all this stuff online? Or is he like, where is the content on this stuff? But then there's a part of me that's like, he doesn't need it. He's getting business. Like they're doing good. Or maybe there's a blog he writes and it goes everywhere. But like, I'm like, where is this? Because this is, I listen to a lot of content, obviously. I don't hear a lot about the benefits of copper as a mineral in your life and what all it does. And like I was looking at it, I was like, you don't need to wash it. Like I was on your website, I was like, wait, what? And so I'm looking at this and I'm going, where are you sharing this? I know this might be a weird conversation that you weren't like, or question you weren't expecting, but I'm like, hey, dude, you believe it feels like this is the hill you're willing to die on, not your product, but just the importance of this mineral in our lives and what it allows us to do that we can't do right now. And so are you sharing this anywhere? Or are you like, that's not my style, bro? Like, look, I'm good. And if so, that's great. Then what are you doing? Because you've built this business and it's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good question. I want to do more content like this. I'm really that I was part of the reason I'm really excited to come on is to talk about that. I did a video, I did like a loom video and posted it on my Vesla YouTube page. I'm not sure how many people have actually watched it, but yeah, I want to talk about this stuff. Like I've just been consumed with. I do talk about it in the comment section on our on our Facebook ads a lot because people have these
Yeah.
objections, and I'm just like, man, I just start posting links to the science now. I'm like, here's a link, here's a link, here's a link, and then I take a picture of the abstract and I like circle the where it answers their objection. And I'm like, look, man, like so many people are like, oh, no one's deficient in copper. Copper messes up your zinc and all this, and people have these things that it's crazy. There's it needs to be talked about because a lot of people have a misunderstanding on the subject. But there's some really good doctors, scientists, and researchers that have basically figured it out. And yeah, but then there's other people that are basically barking up the wrong tree, and they're actually doing their clients and their patients a disservice by sending them in the wrong direction. And so yeah, I mean I want to do more of it, but I'm like I answer Facebook messages. I answer Facebook comments. I have a marketing team that helps me with the Facebook ads, but I'm still like, I post on social media and, try to make reels every now and then. Like I said, I don't make a lot. I want to pump them out every day, and then I got 3 kids and, 1-year-old and a 4-year-old. And,
Yeah.
I'm
1 year old.
got a 1-year-old. That's a lot. And then I'm also still working this other job, which I plan to walk away from maybe after this year, but the benefits are great and it's
I get
great.
it. I think
I
people walk away too soon or way too late. There's like, it's a rare breed that walk at the right time. There's like this 2 to 3 year gap where I feel like it's the right time. And if you do it too early, you put too much financial weight on the business. And then if you do it too late, you're so burnt out that you're like looking for ways to shut something down, or you're just like your mind is so complicated on, can I do it, whatever, that it's a lost cause. Okay. Are there things that you are like, if I had more time, I'd be releasing these additional products? Because
oh
what I'm trying to figure out is like, you're not the copper guy, but I'm trying to find out, copper allows you to help people heal. I think you care about healing. I think
Yeah.
healing means a lot to you. And there's something about purity and like simplicity. And so it feels like you want to help people live simple, live pure, like let the body do its thing. It wants to be well. Um, and you want people to be free, right? And so the question that's like running through my mind, because I'm like looking at surfing is like the ultimate, I want to be free and pure. It's just like, let me be alone with like nature. And if it crushes me, let it crush me. If it allows me to ride, let me ride. But it's just me and this force. And it's like the purest form of it ever that I've ever seen. And when people talk about it, it's just purity. So I'm seeing this purity thing show up in your life, and wellness and healing and all that kind of show up. So it's not even like let me tell you what I want to say, and it might feel confrontational, but it's not. There's a part of me that's like, are there things in your life that you need to shut down to live more pure and more free so that you can bring more of that to more people? Because I think what you have here is big, but not in like the financial sense. I mean, in the like, I feel like there's going to be a moment soon, and I want you to ride the wave. I feel like there's like, like the guys that were selling Tongat Ali, they're like, yeah, we sell it. And then Huberman goes on a podcast and goes, Tongat Ali. And they're like, oh my gosh, I've been
Yeah.
saying it for forever. And so the wave came, and some of them were ready, and some of them were not. And they were
Right.
like, it was like the hug of death, right? It was like, we ran out of inventory, and now there's not enough inventory out there because everyone's trying to sell Tongat Ali because he said that. And so we actually had to shut down the business. Where other people were like, no, man, we were ready. We believed in this. We were already talking about it before him. Like, we're ready to go. We have the purest form, whatever. I feel like that's about to happen with you. I can't say when, I don't know, but I feel like, hey, there's a wave coming. Here's the question. Thanks for letting me ramble. If there was a wave coming, do you feel like you would be ready for it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've crushed, like we've had a strong conversion rate on our ads, and I'm not even running video ads. My ads are real simple, and we've had like 3 to 4% conversion rate.
Which is wild.
Yeah, which is really good. Normally companies between 2 and 3, and that's sustainable. And um, so I think we would be prepared. The biggest thing with us is these are all handmade in northern India, so it takes a while to create them and then ship them here. And so inventory is the biggest issue with just like scaling for me. Right now we did like last month we did 30 grand in sales. This month we'll probably do about 50 or 60.
Yeah.
And so we're growing, but then I'm looking at my inventory. I'm like, all right, the next shipment, so I can't grow it so quick because I have only a certain amount of bottles in my garage. So what I've been doing is I have relationships with I get samples from all these different manufacturers, and I try them out, and I let my kids try them out, and we use them for a month at least, and then so I've narrowed it down to just a few that I think have the highest quality products and are also good to deal with. So I'm going to eventually have more than one manufacturer building them so I can produce them quick enough. But the problem with that is I just need more money to buy inventory. So
Yeah.
I borrowed some money from Shopify, and I got a couple 2 0% interest credit cards for
Yep.
about little like 18 grand. So I'm like, and I use that for inventory that helped us start to scale. But so I'm looking for another round of funding for inventory. Basically, if I could just
Yep.
buy like 200,000 or $100,000 worth of inventory, I could just scale it to the moon. But if that doesn't happen, I'll scale still, but it's just going to be at a much slower pace because I have to have the bottles before I can sell them.
Let me rephrase it. I know your business is ready. I feel like you're in business shape. I'm saying, do you feel like you are? Like, this is you are a resource. You're an amazing resource to people to get healing and to learn. And do you feel like you're ready? Like, if like, does
Yeah,
that make sense?
totally. Like I'm totally ready. I could do a public debate right now on copper and its nutritional benefits, and
Yeah.
prevalence of deficiency and the rarity of toxicity. Like, I got all the stats in my brain. Like, I don't even have to look at anything because I've gone through them so many times at this point, all the scientific literature and stuff. And um, yeah, I would totally put myself out there in that way. And yeah, I'm ready, I think, emotionally to do that. But at the same time, I want to spend a lot of time with my family. So I'll have to, make sure there's balance in that equation
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what you were talking about, I think you mentioned it before, like, um, was there anything like personally that was holding me back that I needed to like grow? Yeah, there's always that, man. Like I'm in the mental game is the
It's the
biggest
biggest.
most important thing, belief. Before I started this company, I read Think and Grow Rich for like the fourth time. But this time I actually did all of the exercises in it. It was before like I would just read it and be like, oh yeah, I don't need to do these. I'm just gonna go do what these guys did, in this book, right? And then it never worked because what happened was I didn't build the belief in my subconscious
Yeah.
brain, right?
Yeah.
So my excitement waned and the idea, even though it was great, it didn't come to fruition. But it was this time, like I literally woke up every morning, I said my thing that I wrote down, I'm going to sell this much by this date. I'm going to do it by being, an excellent provider of high quality copper vessels, and I'm going to give excellent customer service. This is what's going to happen. I said it every morning and I believed it so strongly. So when I hit hurdles, I was just like, no, I'm going to jump over this hurdle or I'm going to go around this hurdle. And I think I was just thinking to myself like yesterday and today, I was like, I need to go back and rebuild my belief again
Mm.
because I think that this has been really successful so far. But what happened was I started just doing the business, and I don't wake up and I don't practice that affirmation or that the Think and Grow Rich script that I made, and I don't go back. You're supposed to go back and read chapter 4, which is like basically the belief in programming your subconscious mind, the belief in autosuggestion, as Napoleon Hill puts it. And so like I need to go back and reinforce that belief in my subconscious mind and also reinforce the belief in the business and I mean I believe in copper, but like I gotta have belief in the business, in myself running the business, and that people need it in all these different areas. I think that's something that needs to be revisited. And
Are you introverted?
that's a good question because it's so I am sometimes like I really get filled up if I can go like just meditate for an hour or like go on a
Yeah.
hike by myself or go surf. I love to surf by myself. It's being in nature. It's really fulfilling. So yeah, I think I do have some tendencies of introversion for sure.
Which is awesome. I think introversion is both are a gift. So it's just an energy place. That's all it is. It's not a
Yeah.
personality.
What about you?
What's that?
What about you? Are you introvert or
I'm
extrovert?
so extroverted, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I could tell.
I mean, look, I create a podcast where I can just go meet people. Like it's I people and me, it's like my bucket gets filled to a place unless I'm out of my identity. Like if I'm operating outside of who I really am, then I will go and isolate. So like
Yeah,
in moments of insecurity, I isolate. But if I'm operating out of like who I know that I am, it's all day. Let's do it. Like it's just my bucket is filled. I'll come home and I can't stop talking to my wife because I'm just like, oh my gosh, and I met this and I did this and this guy did this and blah 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 blah. And so yeah, 100% full extrovert,
that's
all
how my
in.
life is too. I feel like there's such a benefit to be an extrovert. I feel like introversion has its place, but I feel like I was an introvert largely in a lot of respects because I didn't know parts of myself. Like I had some identity issues and I
Sure.
wasn't always able to be authentic. But as I became more, I learned some hard lessons and, became more humbled and
Yeah.
I learned who I was and what I stood for. Then I realized that I actually did really enjoy authentic relationships with
Yeah.
people, authentic
Yeah.
expression with people, and listening and actually learning about people and stuff, not just talking. And
Yeah, no. I can tell just talking with you inauthentic. If someone's unauthentic or you have like a radar for it, that's just like, okay, I need to be out of this as quickly as possible. Now add on top of that your sales training. You pick it up before most of the people in the room if like somebody's not being real, and it probably is like you're allergic to it. You're just gonna be just like, I can't. I'm sorry, I gotta go. Like I just can't. Like this is what are we doing here? You launched 1 year ago. You guys are ready. You guys are doing great, building sales. You guys are growing. It's awesome. What would you guys say is like what's something as far as you feel comfortable sharing? What is something that you and your wife are believing for that you just have not seen yet? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's my wife and I have basically a community of people that are really, I think authentic, what's the word I'm looking for?
I,
Authenticity is
yeah,
something that we stand for that needs to be stood for. I think so many people like live on the surface. They're
yeah,
shallow, like, especially being a guy, like, oh, did you guys see the game? Yeah, it was a great game. Oh, how's the weather doing? No, man, I want to get and talk about religion, spirituality, marriage,
yeah,
children, like
yeah,
hard the stuff that me and my wife are going through and how we're handling it.
yeah.
We're raising our children and what's meaningful to me and what my purpose is, why I get out of bed every day. Like I want to talk about that stuff. And I think that a lot of people, like you were saying, aren't authentic, and it's just a huge, like when someone asks me about like starts talking about the weather and the football game, I got to know where I just immediately want to run. And I think that needs to be like talked about more, like I
I
want
can
to talk
just see
about
it.
the real stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I want to encourage you, but before we do, I do want to make sure that people know we got kids cups coming out with Vesla Copper coming out. Do we know when the kids cups will be out?
Oh yeah, they just dropped a few days ago. So we got some
Sweet.
video of kids and got 500 milliliter, which is about 17 ounces, and then we have a 25-ounce one. So they fit in the lunch box in the backpack a little better. The kids love them. So they're actually going to probably be sold out within a week or two, probably because I only ordered 300 of them to see how they would do. But
And
they
if
are,
you, I know people are like hearing us talk about it. The cups are beautiful. That was something I was really like, I was like, what the heck? Like this is like, these
they're,
are,
they're pretty
yeah, they're
rare.
beautiful. They're not like, and I was like, golly, I think he's undercharging. Um,
Yeah. Um,
I was like, these are $70 cups. And I hope this is now me. You're going to hear opinions. Welcome to my world.
yeah,
You know how some people, if you go to like someone's kitchen that's like cares about health and wellness, they'll have these tall filters, these big filters, metal filters that are like, whatever. I'm sure you have one. Um,
I got the Berkey filter,
that's it. Yeah. Okay. Are
but
you guys, is that in the vision? Because if it's not, you're crazy.
it is in the vision. Yeah, a copper version of that. Burke actually just went out of business too, and
Shut up.
yeah, we'll probably sell copper. Copper water dispensers with the little spots where you could put the charcoal filters and the fluoride filters, so that you have the whole apparatus, and then also the copper aspect to it. That is in the future, but I just, as a business owner, I kind of want to scale what we got now, and then when we got plenty of cash, and we'll,
Yeah, you guys are going to be fine.
But I actually prefer spring water because tap water is like gross. And even when you filter it, like the energy, you
Yeah.
can talk about energetics and stuff. Like the water is basically dead. It's like been water wants to like swirl around in a river and like be in the sunlight. And like if you go to a river like that from a spring and then the water goes in the river, like the water is actually structured differently than what comes out of our tap. It's what's called structured water, and more science needs to be done on this. And I don't like to talk about it. I don't lead with it a lot, but then it goes, and you know, the pipes and stuff, and they add all the chemicals in it. It makes it a little more acidic. It makes it basically not structured like natural water that comes out of a spring or melts from a glacier. Water that comes from a spring and melts from a glacier is going to be structured in a certain way. Copper can actually structure water. You let it sit overnight, it's actually structuring the water. But there's not enough science for me to actually like claim that in public and like with my ad. So I'm not doing that really, but that is a thing that's really interesting. But so I get Mountain Valley spring water delivered to my
Yeah.
house, glass jugs,
Yeah.
and it's the best tasting water ever. Have you
Oh,
had?
I know I don't, but I know you. I've met you before. You kind of people are like my people. Like I love it. I don't do any of the stuff you guys do, but I live in wonder. Every time I see people like you, I'm like, yeah, but your friends aren't as cool as mine. Like mine do like this kind of stuff. Like they're in it. They're not talking about it. They're in it. They're living the life, which I love. I love it. I love it.
What kind of water do you drink? Do you got a
I don't
filter?
even want to tell you about it. I'm not going to tell the water like the
Tell
structured
me.
life water guy the
You gotta
kind
tell
of
me.
water I'm drinking. Are you kidding? It's
You at least
structured.
have you at least have some sort of filter, right? You got some sort of filter.
Yeah,
So
I've got this, but I'm like I don't even want to show you because I'm like, look, dude,
yeah,
it's organized, but it's not structured. Danielle would
yeah.
go, okay, organized, but it's not structured, man. It's just organized.
Oh man, it's you got to try this. Go to the because they sell the Mountain Valley spring water everywhere, like in the little
I
green
see
thing.
it everywhere now.
Have you had it before?
No, like no, because I don't want to be one of the, it's all like perception for me,
Gotta
right?
just drink one, just buy one, and then
I
just
care
take your
more
water
about when it
and that
comes to
water
that.
to a taste test.
Dude, Austin. I've got to get out of Austin because everyone does it to be trendy and to be cool. And it's like they're walking around. There used to be a water in a plastic bottle that was like red, white, and black that everyone used to carry. I forget the name of the brand. And then now it's the mountain one that they're glass bottles, and I'm like, I know it's better.
And it's got
I
the
know.
minerals in it, it's got a balance of potassium and magnesium and sodium and chloride. And actually, I'm also a big fan of mineral water. Have you ever had like I sound like an old man, but like I go to a restaurant, I used to like order a beer, and now I order a Gerald Steiner mineral water. This is my favorite one. It's got all the minerals in it that are really good for you, and it's got bicarbonate, which is it's something that alkalizes your body. It's a natural mineral. It's got little bubbles in it, but that's me now.
I haven't even heard of that. I just Googled it. I'm Googling it right now. Oh, I've never even seen this brand before.
It's actually been around for a long time. They're out of Germany. It comes out of this like huge volcanic hole in the ground that was an old volcano. Now it's a big aquifer. This like 600 deep aquifer, 600 feet deep or whatever. Dude, it's good. And it makes you feel good. You like relax because the magnesium makes you relax. Oh,
Yes, makes it does something else to me, but we won't talk about it. All right. So, for real, it's I don't know what it is. I've got some kind of I don't know. Um all right. Let me encourage you really quick cuz you got to go in like 7 minutes. One, you're a leader. I know you know this, but you're a leader. Leadership can be lonely, which I think like that's the authentic thing. It's like you're not around a lot of leaders all the time. So it's just going to be like you're a believer and like you're focused. You're like, okay, this is what we're going behind. This is what we believe in. And so that's like going to repel people and all that kind of stuff, but it attracts too. So just to encourage you, I do think you're going to attract more of that authentic community. I wouldn't be surprised if you build something while building this that brings people together. I just would not be surprised at all. Here's the big thing that I felt as uncomfortable as it might be, and as we're only as busy as we believe. I know that's not like 100% true, whatever. You are legit busy, but relationships are going to be so people you can touch are going to be so big to the scaling of your business.
mm,
It's really going to be a big deal.
okay.
And I wouldn't like even just like the funding to build to get like more inventory so that you can like really scale. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some private banker that wants to give you a business line of credit at like a low interest rate, but you just don't know these people yet, right? And
Yeah,
so there's a value that there's a few things that I think you're living by, but the level to which you have to of living simply that you're going to have to take to the next level. And it's awesome to see what you and your wife are going to do together is going to be crazy. Like it's going to be, I think, I don't even think you're ready for it, but it's going to be crazy. The talent level that you guys have just based on what you're sharing. I'm like, oh, dude, whatever you need to let go of that isn't about like what you guys believe in is like you're holding other people back from the healing that they're waiting on. And I really think that the phrase that came as you were continuing to share was like, he needs to touch the people. And I don't know if reading the testimonials of your products and stuff, the 5 stars, which you guys have a lot of, is a normal practice of yours, but make it a normal practice.
Oh man, I do that a lot. And I personally am the customer service team right now.
Yes,
I'm going to outsource that soon, but I almost don't want to because
I
it's,
know.
I do, deal with a few annoying things, but I also, like you said, I get to read all the positive feedback and, I got affiliates and we have an affiliate team that's really cool because the people are sharing it with their people. And then
Yeah.
there's a lot of benefits. And I'm looking forward to diving more into like our social media community and getting influencers who are kind of in this sort of space and who are in love with copper like me and my wife and having those relationships. And then also we're gonna start wholesaling as well. So like I got like right now we're in a yoga studio down the street that our best friends own a yoga studio. And they're amazing, dude. You should interview those guys. They're cool. They're the double, triple degree black belts in jujitsu and jeet kune do and yoga masters and entrepreneurs. And
What?
yeah, yeah, I point you in their
Please.
direction.
Yeah,
Yes,
we love it.
yeah, concepts. But we're in there and we're gonna be at this really good restaurant that sells healthy food. And we got a holistic nutritionist who's one of our affiliates who's amazing, and chiropractors and um, people in the health and wellness industry that are backing what we're doing. So I wanna kind of reach out more and grow that community. Like
Yes, dude.
I think right. I think that's going to
I,
be
so
the
you're a believer. I believe you're a Christian. I think I saw something in there. I don't know for sure.
yeah,
Um,
definitely. I
I
mean,
think you're an apostolic type guy. So if you're not reading like Paul's letters, I would encourage you to. I think there's an alignment there with personality, but you travel places and you plant belief. And that is a real gift. And some people get confused as an evangelist. And it's actually like you go and you plant belief. So anywhere you go, people are going to believe, and then you're going to set up leadership structures and they're going to like do their thing. And so just to encourage you, you have a raw gift. Like it's very raw in a good way. And I think your guys are going to crush, like just continue to crush. And so that's why I was like, anything that's a distraction to that, let it go. Even if it's like there's opportunity in it. It's like what you're doing now aligns so much with who you are that this is just, I'm excited for you. I'm buying a cup, but I'm following the journey. Like I'm just like, this guy's going to be doing some crazy things in a year, 2 years, 6 months. And I just want to be like, I talked to him before anybody else really talked to him. And I had all this stuff. So be encouraged, man.
dude, thanks, Justice. I appreciate that, man. I feel the same about you, man. I want to talk more and get to know you more. Like we both have 3 kids, and like they're on the
Yeah.
same page, and like we could have a whole conversation just on the Christianity thing because
Yeah.
I've
Love it.
had back and forth with that, but I'm full
Yeah.
on board. We go to church every Sunday now, bring the
Oh,
kids, and
cool.
but yeah, I
Good
think I
deal.
should read Paul's letters, and yeah, man, maybe we could do another episode one day, and
Yeah.
I'd love to do that. And it looks like you're doing some cool stuff. I listened to one of the videos just because these kids running around. There's people cutting my grass right now.
I can't hear it. You're
It's so
great.
crazy. So I apologize if it's showing up in the video, but they're like running a lawnmower right outside the
You're
garage.
great.
But yeah, I think you're going to do the same, man. I feel like your podcast is going to blow up. You're
Come
really
on.
authentic and genuine and interested in people, and man, I love it. So thanks for having me on, and thanks for doing the podcast, and
Heck yeah.
yeah,
Heck
really
yeah, man.
appreciate it.
I love it.